Christianity, Democracy, and the American Ideal, a Jacques Maritain reader, compiled and edited by Jim Kelly. Chapter 9. Humble Stars Invisibly Shining, Contemplation and Prayer. The construction of the democratic charter is a job for contemplative philosophers, not scientists and social planners. For their part, Christian citizens are called to perfection and the contemplation of the gospel and the saints. Focused as it is on action rather than on contemplation, American society can benefit from the contemplation and prayers of Christians and others, particularly the contemplation of charity. The more public school authorities and courts resist reasonable attempts to facilitate voluntary contemplation or prayer by students, the less likely future Americans will be to alter their materialistic, chaotic lifestyles. There is a certain number of moral tenets about the dignity of the human person, human rights, human equality, freedom, law, mutual respect and tolerance, the unity of mankind, and the ideal of peace among men, on which democracy presupposes common consent. Without a general, firm, and reasoned-out conviction concerning such tenets, democracy cannot survive. It is not the job of scientists, experts, specialists, and technicians. It is the job of philosophers to look for the rational justification and elucidation of the democratic charter. Contemplation is a winged and supernatural thing, free with the freedom of the Spirit of God, more burning than the African sun and more refreshing than the waters of a rushing stream, lighter than birds' down, unseizable, escaping any human measure, and disconcerting every human notion, happy to depose the mighty and exalt the lowly, capable of all disguises, of all daring and all timidity, chaste, fearless, luminous and nocturnal, sweeter than honey and more barren than rock, crucifying and beautifying, crucifying above all, and sometimes all the more exalted, the less conspicuous it is. All, without exception, are called to perfection, which is the same as that of the Father who is in heaven. In a manner either close or distant, all are called to the contemplation of the saints, not the contemplation of the philosophers, but to loving and crucified contemplation, all without exception. The universality of such an appeal is one of the essential features of Christianity's Catholicity. We hold that the West will not surmount the crisis in which it is engaged unless it reconquers that vital truth and understands that external activity must overflow from a superabundance of internal activity, by which man is united to truth and to the source of being. If a new age of Christian civilization should dawn, it is probable that the law of contemplation, superabounding in action, would overflow in some way into the secular and temporal order. It would thus be an age of the sanctification of the profane. And we ourselves know that we can deliberate about ourselves, judge our own actions, cling to what is good, because it is good and for no other reason. All of us know more or less obscurely that we are persons, that we have rights and duties, that we preserve human dignity within ourselves. Each of us can, at certain moments in his existence, descend into the innermost depths of the ego, to make there some eternal pledge or gift of himself, or face some irrefutable judgment of his conscience. And each of us, on such occasions, alone with himself, feels that he is a universe unto himself, immersed in, but not dominated by, the great star-studded universe. To my mind, if, in American civilization, certain elements are causing complaints or criticisms, those elements proceed definitely from a repression of the desire, natural in mankind, for the active repose of the soul breathing what is eternal. The modern world has completely reversed that essential order of human life. Exterior activity began 3 centuries ago and more to absorb the whole life of man, because in reality the world then turned to the conquest and practical utilization of matter away from union with God through faith and love. Conversion to perishable goods, the definition of mortal sin, gradually became the general attitude of civilization. What is it, as a matter of fact, to live a truly Christian life, if not to strive, each according to his condition, for Christian perfection, that is to say, for the perfection of charity? The first thing needed by the world is the contemplation of the saints and their love, because it causes the gifts of divine life and of substantial love to abound on the earth. In the new age we are entering, the task expected of Christians is so difficult that they cannot possibly accomplish it unless there are multiplied, in the very heart of and throughout the world, constellations of spiritual energy, composed of humble stars invisibly shining, each a contemplative soul given over to the life of prayer. Without contemplative love and infused prayer, and the participation of souls given over to them in the redeeming cross, and without the invisible support they bring to the work of all in the mystical body, and to that strange traffic, not lacking in irony, that Providence carries on here below, the task demanded of Christians, of all Christians, would be too heavy, and the great hope that is rising would be in vain. This hope will not be in vain, for the humble stars I am speaking of have begun secretly to glimmer. There are already more of them than one realizes, strewn across the world.